Welcome back to day 2 of the bus. Yesterday we talked about and we read about and thought about if Jamal and Luke are right to live at home. And in your answers, you used evidence from the text to explain why maybe that was a good thing for them to support their mother, and it also helped them with it helped Jamal with his education, and you used some of that evidence from the text as you answered that question. Today, we're going to continue to read and think about if Jamal is right or wrong to panic. So we'll have to think about why is he panicking and if it is an appropriate response for him. Again, in your answers, you want to use evidence from the text. So here we go. When the bus pulled up to the curb, Jamal reached down and grabbed his backpack. A wiry guy in electric blue shorts and t-shirt was clamping a bicycle onto the front of the bus. A few people got off. Jamal stepped into the line of people crowding onto the bus. He took a seat towards the back where there was more room. The ride to school usually took about 45 minutes. Jamal was grateful to have the time to cram for his art history test. He cracked open a book and tried to study. Suddenly the driver slammed on the brakes. Some kind of commotion was going on outside, but Jamal couldn't tell what it was. Then a man near the front spoke up. "I think it was a dog. Looks like he got out of the way just in time." The bus started moving forward again. Jamal glanced out the window and saw a strange-looking little beast with black and white spotted coat. What in the world is that thing? Jamal wondered. It looked a bit like an exotic monkey that might have escaped from the zoo. The small creature was clutching some kind of shiny object. Then suddenly the creature raised its head and looked squarely at Jamal. An impish smile appeared on its face as it raised the shiny object. A bright flash from the object blinded Jamal for a moment. When he looked out the window again, the creature was gone. Had that really happened? Jamal could not be sure. He looked around the bus, but no one else seemed to have noticed the incident. He tried to go back to his book. He could not concentrate. He just couldn't stop thinking about that weird little creature. Just what was that thing? And what about that blinding light? Jamal hoped that it hadn't permanently damaged his eyes. Also, there now seemed to be a strange kind of low-level electricity crackling in the air inside the bus. Again, Jamal looked around the bus. Several passengers were people he saw every day. They didn't seem any different. Everyone was reading or looking out the window or talking to other passengers. They acted like nothing out of the ordinary was happening. He glanced at the passing scenery, and it looked the same too. Then Jamal blinked in surprise. Hank's News and Views was on the wrong side of the street. On the way to school, the newsstand had been on his left. Now it was on the right. Other businesses, though, were in the same place they had always been. Jamal began to feel a little uneasy. Was it possible that Hank had actually moved his newsstand across the street? Maybe he thought he'd sell more papers over there. The hard-working old guy was always trying to think of ways to make more money. Once he even tried handing out balloons that had Hank and News and Views stamped on them. After a while, though, Hank had realized that the balloons were costing him too much money. But to move the stand clear across the street? It would take a lot of people to do that. They'd have to tear down the stand board by board and rebuild it on the other side. Then they'd have to move all of the newspapers and magazines. And not only that, but all sorts of city permits would be required to make such a move. Oh, for Pete's sake, Jamal scolded himself. What's the big deal? People do crazy stuff like that all the time. Forget about it. Whatever Hank did was Hank's business. Then he saw something else that made his heart leap into his throat. The bus had stopped right in front of his favorite coffee shop. The neon sign in the front had always said the meeting place with MEETING. But today it said meeting place, MEATING. ing. How weird. Maybe the old sign had gotten damaged and the workers had misspelled meeting when they fixed it. But then Jamal noticed the artwork on the sign was a leg of lamb. The old artwork had been in a big coffee mug with steam curling up from it. Jamal had been coming to the meeting place nearly every day after class. That's where he first met his girlfriend, Latanya. In fact, he'd arranged to study with her there this afternoon. But now the place was a butcher shop instead of a coffee shop. "Did you see that?" he sputtered to a woman sitting near him. He pointed at the sign. "That's supposed to be a coffee shop." "You must be from out of town," the woman smiled. "The word meeting is just a clever play on words. That butcher shop has been there for years." The red awning, which said beef, pork, and poultry, had faded to a pinkish color. The white letters were cracked and peeling in some places. The awning looked like it had been there for a very long time. Jamal panicked. At the next stop, he hopped off the bus and took off running. He glanced over his shoulder as the bus pulled away. With a start, he noticed that it said 99 instead of 89. But there was no bus 99. Jamal knew the city bus schedule by heart. He was sure of that. As he ran, Jamal tried to remember if he had seen the bus's number when he got on. No, the guy clamping his bike to the front had been in the way. Jamal hadn't read the number. Still, the bus had been going the same direction as always, and the usual passengers on that route had all been aboard. It had to be the bus 89, so how come all of a sudden it said 99? Had the city added a new bus? There had to be a reasonable explanation. Didn't there? All right, that's the end of our second reading together of Bus 99. Take just a couple minutes now and respond to the question in your Canvas page if Jamal is right or wrong to panic. And again, explain why you think he was right or why you think he was wrong using some evidence from the text. What did the text say to help you understand that Jamal is right or wrong?